Right, hello everybody. Guess what's back? It's SuperSprint Sunday, sponsored by Simnet, brought to you by FRL. On this lovely sunny Sunday evening, we are here at the Nurburgring GP circuit for the first of, I believe, 8 rounds of the SuperSprint Sunday season. Greg, otherwise known as the Wufafa in the server, introduce new to you this evening, Mr. Jack Prentice. Welcome in, buddy. Nice to have you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here. Normally I'm out on the track, no doubt causing a few issues, so I suspect that the drivers, if nothing else, will be happy that I'm in the garages and in the booth with yourself. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. Glad to have an insight from somewhere closer to the front of the grid than me and Owen have had from the last few seasons. Me and Owen have been commentating together for a while, but never had quite the insight of a quality driver like yourself in the commentary box. So there'd be definitely be great to have a new bit of insight to view, I guess, some of the other guys that maybe we haven't raced against before. Maybe you can tell us, obviously, what to expect from them, battles that are coming up from them, what sort of moves they might make. And yeah, so we are just about a minute out from qualifying. I'm just going to load up your format for this evening. So what you have this evening, your SuperSprint Sunday, if you've never experienced it before, we have a 15-minute qualifying session, which is classified as a one-stop quali. And the way that works is the drivers get to go out at any time. They do their out lap, they do a push lap, and they can choose to do or not to do an in lap. If they mess up their out lap, tough. That's it. You're going to start from the back or the pit lane, depends on what you decide. And you can go at any time, and that will help with this very large grid that we have. We're expecting 35 drivers tonight, I think. So it will help them basically work their way around and not be interrupted and have a clear track to set a one very crucially difficult fast lap. You'll then go into a 20-minute sprint race, hence the SuperSprint Sunday. So that qualifying will set the grid for the first sprint race of 20 minutes. On the completion of that race, we will take a small interlude to watch some highlights, while the admins reverse the grid of the finishing drivers that completed 75% of the race, to reverse everybody that completed that. And then we'll have a 40-minute sprint. Once again, no need to pit, and that will be your longer race for the evening. We're just waiting for the drivers to come back into the pits, so we can get on with that qualifying session. Obviously, you have to bear with us. The one-shot quali isn't easy to commentate over, just because ACC in its weary state at this point is it's quite difficult to read who exactly is on a lap. But we're going to do our very best to pick up the movers and shakers as they happen. Unsurprisingly, Jazzman, Mr. Vermeulen, is currently topping the timing sheets, followed by Adam Sharp and Travagioli, followed by Luke Prentice, brother of Jack, if I'm right in that. We've always made assumptions in the commentary box.
You are correct.
Yes.
You are correct. Twin brothers. So I'll have to be extra harsh on him.
Of course, we wouldn't have it any different. Now, my understanding is you have the list of our entrants for this year, and obviously what tiers they're in.
So correct. So you'll see on there are 3 different colours. So there's red, there's grey, and then there's that light grey silver. So they denote what class people are in. If you're red, then you're in the AM class, so the theoretically slower class of the 3. If you're the grey, the medium grey block, so to speak, then that means that you're in the, I think it's Pro-Am, do they call it Pro-Am, or silver class? And if you're in the lighter grey, then you're the pro. So apparently you're one of the faster guys. I'm normally pro, so hence why I doubt that, as my speed has never been my strong point. We're going to take you through some of the entrants now as they go through. I don't know if you want to, if you're able to flick over to each and every driver. I'm not going to put you through that, but so we're going to take you through some of the AM entrants at the moment. So anyone who is decoded as red, we'll just give you a quick run through now as some of the drivers go out. So, for example, you've got in AM, some of the entrants are, you've got Dale Kelleher in the Ferrari car number 89, followed by Alexander Kalugin, who is in the Porsche, as ever, car 334, with Michael Coppens in the 36 Ferrari 296 GT3, so expect him to be towards the sharp end there, with Jamie Thacker in another Ferrari, car number 7. I think Ferrari's going to be a pretty common car, isn't it? Paul Trotman in the Lexus GT3, expect him to be very quick down the straight line, car number 246, with Danny Felix in the McLaren GT3 Evo, car number 985. Marnix Hook in the BMW M4 GT3 is car number 11, with a new name for this championship, Piotr Shabazniak, the pole in a Ferrari 296, car number 8. David Fars is the Belgian in another McLaren car number 187. He's an Anne, with Gav Cherry Moore, another new entrant, I do believe, another Ferrari car number 186. Jordan Marchal, a strong Frenchman, in the Mercedes GT3 2020, car 23. Expect him to be quite quick. He's been going really well on Thursday night. Started 4th in the World Tour just this week gone. Daniel Crossman in the Ford Mustang, the recently bopped Ford Mustang in car number 84. Darren Mark Davis, the commentary GOAT, I think it's fair to say, of Formula Racing League. It's currently in the Ford Mustang 27, with Joachim Verret of Belgium in the Porsche number 22. Trevor Mendes is another in the AM class, with Darren Townsend as car number 9 in the McLaren, usually a pink car, so very easy to spot. Daniel Duda, another pole in the BMW GT3, not car number 97. Now you've got some, I think we've shown as a reserve here, that's Jake Hanley, and then we're on to silver drivers. Would you like me to run through those a little bit later on, or is that all
that's fine. We're just
well?
perusing over the initial lap from Vermeulen at the moment, so carry on, my friend.
So Vermeulen probably going to be up to the sharp end, is he? We'll get to him a little bit later on. So in the silver class, we've got Chris Gedman, one of the founding members of Formula Racing League. He's in a Porsche, as per the last couple of seasons, now car number 79. Expect him to be towards the sharp end, I would have thought, in that particular class, with Serafino Gabino in the Ferrari this time, Ferrari 296 GT3, another strong contender. Luke Richings, another admin in the McLaren car number 104. You'll expect him again to be towards sharp end, what's looking to be a really competitive silver tier. Johnny Sharp in the Ferrari once again, car number 69, is another one again that you would expect to see towards the sharp end. Ryan Serpentine, the South African in the Ferrari, returns to the championship this time around. Marco Lino, he's usually in pro class, has dropped to silver in the car number 131, that's the Ferrari 296, with Daniel Starkloff. Again, he was from AM. He's really impressed last season, one of the quicker drivers in the AM class, and it's no surprise to see him up into silver. Lee Colpitts, again in the BMW GT3, solid driver. You'll never see him towards the back of any field, and he's got the potential to pick up the odd podium here and there in the BMW, with Maximilian Morniveg, the German, in the McLaren 720S. That is car number 442. Alexei Yablonsky in the McLaren 720, car number 78, is another man who'll be threatening in silver, with Michel van der Waal in the McLaren 720, car number 71. Nikita Shemazov, the Serbian, comes back again, and expect him to be competitive in silver class. He is car number 420, with Marcelin Brush-Tully. I'm going to have to practice that a little bit more in the Porsche car number 2, the 992 GT3, another man who was impressed towards the back end of last season. Brooklyn Donkin in the Mustang car number 177 is next on the list, with Daniel Kazakevich in the car 75 Porsche GT3, another man who'll be looking to make his mark this season, a newcomer to the championship. In Pro now, we're nearly there, folks, don't worry. In Pro, we've got, the first one is Gordon Brown, Lamborghini Huracan car number 134. That combination driver car is very potent, so expect to see him potentially towards the sharp end at certain tracks. Not being confident, but I think that's misplaced on his part. I think he'll be fine this season. Jay Wazza in the Bentley as ever, car number 32 is, I think you called him a podium bouncer. I would agree with that. Certainly can be very potent on his day in that car, with Wouter Heymans in the Ferrari once again, car 717. Adam Sharp is back in the McLaren. Spends the off-seasons, the last couple of seasons, off-seasons trying to test out different cars, saying he'll go in a different car, and always returns to the McLaren 720, car number 37. Expect to see him towards the sharp end, with Morgan Grace, a man who's probably the most relieved to see me off the grid, with our battles usually providing the entertainment. With me out of his way in the 992 car 14, I expect to see him doing rather well. Fabio Travaglioli is probably the second fastest driver in Pro. He returns in car number 41. Did a lot of laps yesterday in a 10-hour race here and showed very, very well. Car number 1 is Jared Vermeulen, and it's not a stretch to say that he is the clear favourite on pace. I expect to see him coming through the field in race number 2. He's in the Ferrari, car number 1, with Andrew Eden in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage car 884. Looking to be a bit of a spoiler this season, I suspect. Josh Clayton in the Aston Martin, probably the best driver on the grid at Aston Martin, car number 5. I expect to see him towards the sharp end once again, with Matteo D'Amica in the Ferrari car 51. Next up on the list. Paul Vidler comes back to the championship, a regular on Thursday nights, and certainly a driver who provides plenty of entertainment. He's car number 10, and expect to see him go well, with Luke Prentice back in the Lamborghini, my twin brother, car 333 this time around. Václav Pospisil is in the Porsche this time around, having been in the McLaren previously, car number 34, with Francois de Bont in the BMW M4, car 999. We've then got Mr. Overtaker. I hope that comes to fruition. Car 77 is the last entrant on the Sim grid list. And that, ladies and gentlemen, the runners' rides for this season.
Thank you very much for that. There's some fantastic pronunciations in there, the ones that me and Owen have butchered for many seasons. So thank you, Jack, for the corrections that you made along the way in your list there. So we've just picked up the initial movers and shakers. As you might expect, Vermeulen did take the initial pole, with Vidler not too far away from 1.2 down. It's actually quite a big gap, but then close behind there was Starclough in P3 leading his class in Jablonski. Marshall in P7 leading the AM class behind Van der Waal of the Pro-Am tier, and Chetmasov, and second in the AM tier is FaZe at the moment, with Mendez and Davis and Thacker following close behind him, all within a few tenths of a second. We seem to have gone through a initial first phase of this qualifying, so the first half of the grid, that's the ones that decide to go out first of all, have all set their laps. Now the drivers that look for a bit of clear air, once those have cleared and now out on track, we're currently following round Gaella. He's just rounding the final bend of the Coca-Cola curve and goes towards the line. And what will he do? Make a mug of me is what he's going to do, because he's not set a lap. We go car number 37. And that is Adam Sharp. We expect this to be towards the top of the list. He usually sits just below that of Vermeulen. Across the line he goes. And that is got him just starting a lap. Again, making a mug out of me.
They're messing with you. They're messing with you.
What about De Bont? Can we trust him to put a lap down in his BMW? We can. Flies at the list and goes all the way to P2, the first person to get within a second of Vermeulen. I can't help but see that Marshall, despite having already set a lap, is going round again. Maybe somebody hasn't read the steward's briefing. Does he improve on this lap? If so, he does. He goes P3, and I suspect he's going to be enforced into a pit lane start.
I think there might be the season record, mightn't there, for a penalty, I'm afraid. I know that the stewards will be taking a look at that. Tend to take a dim view, don't they? So Marshall, very strong out on circuit, but unfortunately for him, that may not count. This is an out lap finished by Luke Prentice. He's just starting his lap now. So who can we see? I think it's 186 is also just behind. He's also out on another lap. Who can we see? I think car number 89, which is Kelleher.
Have you just caught your twin brother taking a load of grass going into the first turn? I'll tell you what, for a bit of excitement, let's follow Luke around on this lap. So he goes through the first bit of the S into the Mercedes arena. You want to swing the car out wide, watch the off camber on the second turn, dive it in here. You can cut quite a lot at this corner, as much as Lamborghini doesn't like the curbs. Down to first and second gear, probably the first in Lamborghini. It loves to rev. Go as far out wide as you can. Do not invalidate on the outside. There's a lot of tarmac there you can use. Pull it over to the right. Fling into the left. Carry a lot of speed. Usually a third gear corner. Down here, drop it down into second. let the car roll around this corner and get on the power as early as you dare. He's taking a bit of gravel to the outside, but that'll still be valid. Swings out to the right, then cut back into the left, brake halfway down this curb, and then swing it around this bend here. You can take a bit of the inside curb in there, but you need to be able to open up the exit and get the power down early. He does that just fine. Now he's going to fly through the Michael Schumacher S. Lamborghini doesn't like carrying speed, but he's done all right there. Now moderate braking into here, into the Kumho curve. And he's going to slide it around here, but keep the rear in check. Takes a slice of the curb. And now full power all the way down to Vidal, the turn 14, 15 chicane. Gets almost top speed, brake down to third or fourth gear, ride the second part of the curbing. The first one's a bit too harsh. Use all the curb on the outside to get the maximum turn in for this long, never-ending, it seems, final turn. Front is snaking on him just a little bit. Goes towards the line, and what can he do? Goes P4, just behind Wazza. And Sharp, is he Sharp set another lap? Or was he? That
was his one lap. That was his one lap.
Incredibly close to Vermeulen there. Less than 1/10 of a second, less than half a tenth of a second. Incredibly close to Vermeulen there. What a lap! It's very difficult to pick these ones up. But we've got Richings coming to the final complex now in the ever-favoured Sky McLaren. Hates curbs just as much as the Lamborghini, I've heard. Never tried it myself, but he's tried it and he's gone P17. Currently sitting one of the bottom in the silver division. And then he goes off to test the gravel, but not the barrier.
Always get views of 2007 in Europe, you know, when they had the it was the traffic, it was a race, wasn't it? They went off on the pedals there. Always, every time someone goes down, they've just got visions of the wall driving off. I think we can see Travaglioli finishing the lap now, so this should be quite quick. I'll throw over to yourself now.
Yep, so once again, skip the first turn, ride heavy the second. He didn't use too much curbing on the outside there, but he's taking a wide entry. The final turn. Can't help but think that maybe this is actually an outlap. He does have time. So yeah, this is an outlap. So this is the real challenge for pole here. We know Sharp got close, but down the hill he goes. Brake in a straight line as you can, and then still braking as you hit the apex, but then off the brake. Hit the power. Don't let the rear escape you. Swing out wide. Use the inside camber to your advantage. Don't lose it to the outside. Power down into the Mercedes arena. And these double hairpins you've got to contest with. And then into turn 4. Great chance to use the tarmac on the outside, but do not invalidate. There's a white line that will catch you a cropper. Now down into turn 6. Carry as much speed as you can. But there's grass winging you on either side. There's a bit of camber there you can see as it drops below the grass. Hold this one as tight as possible. Look to get the power as quick as you can. And off he goes. Very little to do here as the car will naturally stay quite planted to the road. But then you need to brake absolutely perfectly into here because your traction, your speed out of this corner is decided from the very entry. Come up the hill here and cut these two inside curbs. Don't get bounded too much by the second one. He's done well. The suspension takes it. Into the Kumho curve. Kumho, there's no B in it. And now the bit curve. And down and out. Now, probably most you're ever going to be on power around this track. See quite a lot of overtaking in here as we get into the race. All the way up to 5th or 6th gear, depending on what car you're in. And then down into 4th or 3rd. I said, skip that one. Take that one. He took that one a lot heavier than he did in his outlap, which is to be expected. And then a lot tighter into here, also to be expected. Takes about a midpoint apex, which is quite bizarre, but we're going to head towards the top because we expect that's where it's going to be. And he takes pole! He takes pole off Vermeulen. Wow, what a lap. By 3.5 tenths. Waiting for the track really came to him. Vermeulen, who elected to go out early, maybe didn't get the best track conditions, and that has allowed Travaglioli to really take that one to him. Now, I haven't seen how these line up. You you being closer to the front, Jack, how do you expect them to line up? Is it Travolta on the inside?
I think pole position, is on the outside. So I believe we'll check this. When they do line up, we'll be able to see it. But I believe that the pole position's on the outside. It's good news for the two Ferraris that they're both on the front row, because the McLaren does accelerate better than them, and it would have been a bit of a headache for one of Vermeulen or Travaglioli had Sharp managed to split them. You've got the Bentley behind them as well. That will cause a few problems, especially as the track narrows coming into the first corner. So I suspect that we might see some action going in there. And normally where it does tighten up and bunch up, you tend to get this sort of concertina effect, especially with a hairpin as tight as turn 1. So I would suspect that the Ferraris still have quite a bit of work to do in terms of leading the first race, and consequently then obviously when you've got the second race as well, and they'll likely be coming back through the field, it's going to be a bit of pick your way through. So many positions here, it's unique really, but so many positions here can be won on the first and second lap if you place your car right. It's different to other tracks where usually they're either acceleration zones or they're light braking, but here really is the place that you've got to be switched on.
Yeah, you've really got to play a bit of car chess with your car. You place yourself on the outside for turn 1. As long as you can hold out there, don't get pushed out, you find yourself on the inside for the next 2 turns, and that can really pay dividends in these early stages. Now, one outlier, I'm sure you've spotted it as well, Jack, is Marshall in the AM tier, currently sat P7 on the grid. What an outstanding performance by him, and maybe something that'll get looked at by the admins after the race into his positioning in his tier. But we're going to do a quick rundown. So as we've already mentioned, Travaglioli leads Vermeulen, leads Sharp, leads Wazza, leads Prentice, leads the Bond, and then interrupted by Marshall. Then Vidler and Eden rounds out the first major group of pro drivers. Then we have Starkloff just putting Brown between Brown and Eden. And then the second place with the silver tier is Surfatane, Sharp, Jablonski, Vandervoort, and Colpitts, all down to P16. Now the next place AM driver is Kalugin, 10 places back from Marshall, who's currently sat in P7. Then we have a continuation of the silver tier in 18th, 19th and 20th in Czechmasov, Gedman and Richings. Then we have the major bulk of the AM tier, as to be expected, towards the back of the grid. We have Faze, Mendez, Davies, Townsend, Thacker, Trotman down to P26. Then we have Kazakevich,
Coppins, Kelleher, Jabashniak to row 15. Then you've got Hymans, Cherry Moore, Donkin, Felix, and Brush Tully. And now, I'm very sorry to interrupt, but I have seen that, unfortunately, as we suspected, Marshall has been instructed by the stewards to start from the pit lane for both races. So that's obviously for a qualifying infringement. He will be starting from the pit lane. So that 7th place has unfortunately gone to waste for the Frenchman.
I mean, it's a shame, but unfortunately, rules are rules. It's often seems unfair or unnecessary to have rules imposed in such a way, but it's for the good of all people racing that rules are abided by, and obviously everybody gets a fair shot at their one-shot quali. We're about a minute out now, and now one battle, especially in the pro tier, that I'm looking at is your brother Luke. Is going to have a massive traction advantage over, I believe, the barges either side of him in the Bentley and the BMW. I suspect he's going to get around the outside early on those two.
So, yeah, I mean, I was completely wrong when you asked me about how things are lined up, so I've not really done what I'm supposed to do. You can see that Travaglioli is starting on the inside there as they go into the chicane. Got 30 seconds to go. So Travaglioli on the inside, pole position on the inside, which will allow him to defend and take the high ground into the apex. It's a bit different to Formula One, where you start the racing line, which would be the outside, but here it is the inside. As I will throw back over to you for the session start.
Yeah, so we are 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and we are going to go in a short formation rolling start. So everybody's going to start their engines. We can already see that Marshall has elected to go into the pits. Now, one thing, obviously, the game allows you to do is sit quite far ahead in your box and really allow you as we've got some supporters for Kazakevich. As you can already see, Vermeulen really pressing on and trying to sit ahead in the box, try and get himself as level as Travaglioli as they head into turn 1. If they can ace the traction, could be an easy position, as we've already got a drive through, and we are go. Travaglioli does get a good stop, but he's on the marbles. Sharp not too far behind. How's the braking going to be into turn 1? Vermeulen is right there, but Sharp is as well. Sharp looks to the inside momentarily, but then Travaglioli tries to see him off. Vermeulen is finding his way around the outside, but he's gone quite wide. Will this invite Sharp in? No, not just yet. Vermeulen slots into position. Now, most people do seem to have settled in. I've got Prentice in absolute sandwich. He's been jumped by a Ferrari, I believe, of Vidler. So a great start from Vidler coming up from P8. But that's both of them. Oh, and Vidler has gone sideways. And a multi-car collision on the exit of turn 3. But Vidler still seems to be going, but no, Vidler's gone round again. We go back towards the front. We leave the carnage towards the back, as we now finally start getting some timings on our screens. With that incident, it has detached all the way back, seemingly, from about Brown. Actually, no, there seems to be car 32, seems to be on the back of this initial pack, and then we got a gap back to Prentice, who was caught up with Vidler. We've then got De Bont chasing down Colpitts, who's got a lot of damage, so I can only presume he got caught up with Vidler. Potentially not too bad. We'll see how his lap times do as we go on. Just there, I think I saw a car going a bit wide. That's the Lexus Chekmasov, and he's under pressure from the Ferrari of Sharp there.
So I was just about to say, there was no contact really in the first quarter. A little bit of beating and banging. I think the two got together in turn 4. It's a bit of a pinch point there. And when the Ferrari was then forced off the track by the contact, it's all then about how they come back onto the track. Will the Lamborghini give him any space to come back on? Or will the Ferrari have to ease off? In the end, neither really happened. No compromising there from either driver, so I'm sure the stewards will look at that. But then as they bounce back across the track, it's at that point then that I think Eden and there was another Ferrari, I think, that was called up, Hyman's, all got stuck in to that particular battle. So 3 or 4 drivers there out of position. Of course, that means that they're weak at the racing evening is not over, because they've still got the reverse grid, but certainly a bit of a setback there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to race cars, you're going to crash cars, and around this track, that first sector is a bit of a demon for these monsters to try and get around. And I'm seeing Chekmasov underneath a lot of pressure from Johnny Sharp here, but this is quite a train. He's not completely out of the woods. Richings ahead is seemingly holding this pack up a little bit in his McLaren. He needs to tack on the back to Van der Waal if he's going to offer a bit more of a defence to this group in the midfield.
So I think we've got there Richings playing his way in, isn't he? He's got Chekmasov and Sharp on the back. Now, it's important to see Travaglioli hasn't got away from Vermeulen. Vermeulen now half a second back, with Sharp now just a second off of the back there. Now, as I said, the McLaren was a bit quicker off the line, but he got boxed in, so Travaglioli there really could just defend only from Vermeulen. It's a bit of an advantage there having the Ferrari, because it meant that he only had to defend to the outside rather than any threats from behind. Vermeulen all over the back of Travaglioli as they go into the final quarter. I wonder if he'll play the long game, or whether he fancies a run at first place and lays down a bit of a marker.
I mean, from what I've experienced over previous seasons, Vermeulen does like to get his moves done early and then try and manage the pace. I mean, both these guys are fantastic at managing the pace. It's just whether or not they want to use up tyres, use up risk and strategy to get that position in the first place. Is it worth the risk this early on when the other driver's going to want to come back at you? Or will they choose to eventually play temporary teammates and just pull away from Sharp and Wazza for the time being?
It's more of a case of, at the moment, they don't want to sort of trip over each other just to and then they'll leave the fighting till a little bit later on, although it must be said.
I've been on Chekmasov, and he's been hit in the back by Sharp there. Chekmasov seems to go a bit offline. Sharp tried to cut on the inside of him and has given him a tap, and that is Checkmasov round and now dropping back.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one that. As I saw the Lexus, I called it very briefly, the Lexus just coming across there. Sometimes it's really difficult when you're in the car to see exactly where the limit is. Some people have some radar, but sometimes really difficult to know exactly where you are, and sometimes, especially around this track, that is always a possibility.
So this is as close as Vermeulen's been just yet. He's going to the middle sector now, and he's about to set up the long sweeper into the final sector chicane. Now they're both in equal machinery, maybe not equal setups.
Sharp to the outside for P10 on Richings.
So will there be a move here? Von Vermeulen into the chicane. I think it's a little bit too far back. Looks like Travaglioli didn't quite have as clean a chicane as Vermeulen did, but Vermeulen, being as close as he did have to back out slightly. He looks a bit more confident coming around the final turn. Will be any slipstream applied as he comes down towards the first turn? Big, long braking zone here. If you want to make a move, if you feel strong on your brakes. Vermeulen does look to the inside, applies his brakes, and then bails out of it just as quickly. Now they'll be locked together through this section. Again, not too many overtaking opportunities unless you've already established that move through turn 1.
So I'm going to throw back to Sharp, yeah. So he was just going around the outside of the Cumio curve. It didn't quite work. He had a bit of an overlap on Richings, but Richings stood firm, just kept his car on the inside, and just let the car run out enough so that Sharp doesn't have the space. And since then, Sharp has tried again into the first corner. So I think this is the battle to watch for what is third in silver. We have now, I think Sharp is going to try again going into the four curve. You don't really want to be trying to move there, because what will happen is that it gets tighter just as you enter the corner, and often the car on the outside then will have the high ground going into the right-hander, which is banked, so you can really run off the corner a little bit better than if it was a regular corner. Can't see anything more except for Vermeulen again, just 0.2 of a second, isn't he, behind Travaglioli. It's just a case of when he makes an attempt rather than if, isn't it? Because he is pretty much within his wheel tracks.
He is, yeah, and obviously this is one of his overtaking opportunities once again with a long straight here. But it's only a short braking zone though, because these drivers can carry so much speed through the chicane. So really not too much of an overtaking opportunity unless you can make the move down the fast section at the back of the track there. But he's going to round the final corner again. He did attempt a move on the last lap into turn 1. But here he goes. He's down to underneath 0.2. Slipstream's been picked up early. Travaglioli has not gone defensive just yet. And Vermeulen, did go momentarily defensive. Vermeulen then tries to go to the inside. Can't make it work. But then Travaglioli's gone a little bit deep. Vermeulen's on the outside, but he's going to find no grip out there. Can he cut back? Can he get to the inside? For turn 3, he's found a space down the inside. They do touch slightly. Oh no, and Travaglioli's round. And now Travaglioli's now collected Sharp. Both drivers get away. From that angle, it was really hard to see if Vermeulen should have been given any space there. He does seem to back up that he's definitely giving ground back up to Travaglioli. So maybe he's going to try and orchestrate giving this position back. But he does have Sharp ready to pounce here.
Walter in the Bentley, isn't it? That's an immediate threat. The stewards will be looking at two things there. First of all, was there enough room alongside for Vermeulen to lay claim to the corner? And secondly, whether Travaglioli, once he had been spun, had rejoined in an appropriate manner. He did pull out slightly. Could they potentially look at that?
Was in the wall? Well, not quite. He's not quite made it to the wall, but he's spun out. And he's going to have to find his way out of that parking spot. To get back into this one. It looked so promising for a moment there. He looked like he was really back in the fight with the top 4, but now he's left it to Sharp, Vermeulen and Travaglioli. But now Vermeulen has made that move back. The lead has changed again.
odd there because Travaglioli actually got on the brakes going through the sweeper. So I wonder if he thought he was at fault for the issues with Wazza. But if he's going to do that, he's got a long, long way to go to give that position back, with Wazza having dropped so far back coming out of the gravel. So
then we catch Sharp looking for a move, going into the chicane, but then backs out of it appropriately early. Now he's really, really pushing Richings now.
I think this is the race-long battle, isn't it, for third in class. They're just behind Van der Waal, so perhaps if they can sort this out, they may both have a run at second place. Van der Waal holding on gamely, but stuck behind De Bont, isn't he? De Bont in the heavily damaged
Sharp. He's flicked to the inside. Looks like Richings has gone partially defensive. He's taken a central line for the first turn, but he's going to get pushed out wide here. Well, Richings had to keep his nose for the second turn. He didn't, but he's found a way to the inside anyway. Can he make a secondary dive into turn 3? No. Sharp has finally hard fought and earned that third in class. Now we can go chasing after Van der Waal.
So a bit there. What was interesting was that Richings, when he was through turn 2, caught the grass a little bit, and that ruined his exit. Basically cost him traction as he was going upwards rather than forwards, and that's where Sharp was able to just pull away off the corner and get his nose and clamp going into the third bend.
So just flicked over to catch Heymans, overtaking Sherry Moore back for P22, which will update on your timing screen shortly. And I think Felix is closing on Starclough now, because I think Starclough has, after earlier incidents, maybe slightly damaged Ferrari, is trying to work his way back. But he's got familiar company. He's got Eden in P26, who I think he's just got past in the Aston Martin. Timing screen's just catching up with us. And Vermeulen now starting to stretch that gap. Now he's got the lead. And Sharp, just as fast as he got past Richings, so slowly but surely coming on to Van der Waal. But Van der Waal is being held up.
No, you.
No, Van der Waal is just being held up by De Bont here, it seems. The man in the class above. So now Sharp is going to have quite the run at Van der Waal here, because Van der Waal did get held up around the final turn. So will this be a slipstream move into the first turn? Not quite close enough just yet, and I can see a Bentley in the background looking for a move as well. Oh, we've just flicked to the outside. Will this be a cutback? He's let Van der Waal go a little bit deep. Van der Waal gone tight into there. But no, good chest manoeuvring there. I don't think Sharp's going to make a dive into turn 4. Well considered and well backed out of.
That Bentley was trying to pass Kalugin Pro on AM, so you would expect something to be sensible here with Wazza now probably 4 cars off of the back of the next competitor in class. That's De Bont. If he can get through this field, then 7th is up for grabs, or what would be 6th in class with De Bont, heavily damaged, of course, now holding up Van der Waal and Sharp, isn't he? So expect that one not to be resolved just yet.
So it's very strange not to see Wazza make lighter work of Kalugin here. He does have an immense power inside that Bentley, and I suspect on the 2 straights coming up he's really going to make himself known. This is the closest battle on track at the moment, with the exception of Sharp and Van der Waal, which is still developing. 2 drivers that may be a bit more closely in competition. But yeah, you can see Wazza taking just superior lines through the middle section there. And he's found some great traction coming down the back straight. Will this be an audacious dive into the final chicane? It certainly looks like he's setting it up. He's found his way to the inside, but backs out. He doesn't want that smoke.
It's the wrong corner, really, isn't it? There's the tighter chicane, which I think would be a lot better for overtaking, but as it is at the moment, it's a bit too fast. Sharp now in P9. It's going to have a run at Van der Waal going into turn 1, I fancy, if you want to catch this one.
Yeah, just flicked over, and Sharp already flicking to the inside. Van der Waal taking slightly towards the middle of the track to try and make it harder for him, then goes back out wide. He's going to attempt the cutback that Sharp tried last lap, but no, Sharp has found good traction, good line, and has taken that position now. 2 positions in about 5 laps there, so good work from Sharp. Travaglioli coming back slowly at Vermeulen, so maybe a small mistake. It originally was over a second, 1.2 seconds, but now Travaglioli down to 9/10 behind Vermeulen, so maybe this will develop towards the last few minutes. And other battles down the grid. We've got Cherry Moore having to defend from Starcloth, and did just catch Andrew Eden. No, not Eden. Who was that Ferrari?
Starcloth, isn't it? I think in Eden with Kazakevich. Where was that Ferrari? It must Kelleher. Snell Kelleher, I think, is cycling back through. He's got Marshall just behind him in the recovering Mercedes. That's Kelleher in car number 89, stuck behind Kazakevich in the heavily damaged Porsche.
There's Coppens actually is currently in between Starcloth and Cherrymore. He just took a position off of Starcloth, quite unexpectedly.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any damage.
Just caught car 79 of Gedman on P14. Just overtake, I believe that was Brush Tully.
Yeah, he's got more problems because that's donking going down the inside as well, isn't it? So more problems for the Porsche there, but royally roughed up going into the chicane.
Brush Tully looked like he might have tried to hold it on the inside of the chicane there as he was still holding position, but no, couldn't make it stick.
Sharp immediately on the back of De Bont in P7, but not close enough to go into turn 1, so stay with the battle that you're at. With Sharp now half a second behind. I suspect he'll make light work of the wounded BMW probably next time around, but then has he got enough time to get after Colpitts, who's taken a quiet lead, isn't he, in silver in 6th place, staying out of trouble. And we've got now, I think, Brush Tully trying to come back at Donkin. I don't think that's going to work for P15, and I don't see any other battles apart from P25, 24. They're close going into turn 1, but around the outside of Marshall they go, and I think Kelleher's going to try up the inside there, but he'll have no grip around the outside. So all closing up for what is P24.
With that very beat up Porsche looking for any opportunity there as well of Kazakevich. I will get it right. And then Kelleher looking at the man on the move, lining up Felix, maybe for a move down into the hairpin. But slowly building this one. Looking definitely like the more confident man, definitely got the cleaner car.
Go and see. We got, I think Van der Waal is now coming under pressure from Richings in P9. So if you've got P10 Luke Richings now having a run at Van der Waal, so Van der Waal's pace not quite there. Will be safe going into the chicane, but I wonder if he might set him up out the final corner. That's probably the closest we have to a battle at this moment in time, isn't it?
But Wazza's right on the back of Richings. I think Richings has actually got bigger concerns in the form of Wazza, who is about to, the section really benefits the Bentley with the grunt that it has. And as expected, he comes out the final turn, and Richings, yeah, is definitely going to have to consider this attack from Wazza now instead of actually going after Van der Waal. He goes to the inside, does Wazza, takes a very, very tight inside, but can he get the barge stopped? Or will Richings just swoop around the outside? I think a little bit of axle on axle action, and Wazza then goes back to the outside, gives Richings the room, but will Richings take another dive down the inside? No. He's all the way behind, and Wazza will take that position, but then Wazza goes a little bit wide.
Sensible driving, it might allow Wazza to have a run at Van der Waal, and that might pay dividends for Richings in the next couple of laps.
I mean, you say couple of laps, it might just be one.
Might now looking at the back of the bottom. It's to getting to the point now in the race where if it's not for class position, you may as well stay behind to get the slightly better grid position going into the race. So playing it clever either way from Richings there, whether he holds him off and maybe goes after Van der Waal or lets Wazza go through, because he'll have a slightly better grid position going into race 2.
I mean, are people at this point even thinking, oh, what side of the grid might I be on? Maybe an overtake, maybe a drop back might actually put me on a favourable side of the grid to make positions.
Typically, no. It's more to do with if it's class to class, and in my experience, what they're looking to do is there at least try and say, right, who am I going to be starting with, and does this position mean anything? And if it doesn't,
Sharp's going for it. Sharp is almost bump drafting De Bont down the road. He's going to try the outside for the chicane. He's going to get the better cutback. Really, really tough driving. De Bont is definitely struggling.
But his car.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised he's not getting uplift on his nose there with the amount of air going into that bonnet. Was it? He's past Van der Waal.
That may allow Richings to have a go, but then it's now for class and class, so maybe Richings may well re-engage. For Wazza, though, on the other hand, it's probably a little bit too late to get after De Bont, so he may just be setting himself back a little bit further after his earlier incident.
Yeah, back to Sharp. He's only got a few more opportunities now, because De Bont really is struggling, and Sharp looks like a much more comfortable man. But he just, unfortunately, these fast sections, he just doesn't have the grunt. He needs to close up with the track is tight and take a real opportunity. But he's gone out onto the marbles a bit there. Found traction afterwards, but maybe cost himself a bit of time mid-corner, as we've got a car pulled over in the final sector, and we've got the leaders about to go through there.
So he doesn't have to finish a lap.
Potentially. So we'll give Vermeulen his time in the sun. He comes home with a 2.5 second gap and wins SuperSprint Sunday race 1 in round 1. Sharp with a bit of a gap behind does take P3. Brown with a great early performance. The Lamborghini doing well here tonight. Takes P4. Followed by another Lamborghini in your brother of Luke Prentice. And then Colpitts with a silver tier win comes home in P6. And then De Bont not having to fight off Sharp too badly, but then Wazza tries to come through as well, doesn't get that done. Then Van der Waal, Richings, Kalugin takes a AM tier win, well done to him, followed by Gedman and Donkin. And FaZe, FaZe has been dropped behind Brush Tully. Wonder what happened there in the dying moments.
That might be grid related. They're in different classes, so that might be grid related on the part of David Fars.
And Starclough comes home in a lonely P20, which he won't be happy about for that race, but he'll be happy about in regards to his grid position next time he goes out. Then we've got Felix, and then we've got Jablonski down P28. Then Trotman and
Trotman's going to be last over the line as Fiddler funneled in behind the leader, I think, of Vermeulen. I'm pretty certain anyway, because there was another green Ferrari, car number 10 and car number 8. So I believe they both did. Him and Spazniak funneled in behind. They are still giving it the big leagues, so that might be ACC doing ACC things, mightn't it?
Quite possibly, quite possibly. Now Vidler, who did get caught up in the first lap incident, will be licking his lips for this grid position that he's going to get come race 2. Hope you're all looking forward to that. See if he can hold off a charging Vermeulen all the way from the back. So there you have it. There is your finishing positions. And what I'm going to do, and everybody is finished, is just grab you the highlights, because that's what we're going to go to. Because as I mentioned, you have a little bit of an interlude as we go between sessions. And for that, you're going to get to watch some juicy little highlights that maybe we did or didn't catch going through. So we will leave the session now. We'll just give the admins a chance to just run down these positions if they haven't caught them already. Because they will get a report through G Portal. Have to bear with me, everybody. I am trying to be a trooper, commentating for you with the sun.
We lost you.
Oh, no, I don't think you have.
Yeah, well, it was just talking when then all of a sudden it cut out, but that may be my party related. So I want to talk about the damage, if I may, just whilst we pull up the highlights. And why DeBont, who's normally one of the quickest drivers in Pro, was struggling so badly, because the front end, being as crunched in as it wasn't just causing issues in terms of handling, because bodywork's got to be as perfect as possible in order for the car to handle at an optimal level, but the drag and the damage, going down the straights will also be lifting the car or lifting the bonnet up. You'd mentioned earlier about air getting in and lifting the bonnet up. It will have cost him a couple of miles an hour down the straight. So not only have you got the disadvantage in a corner where it's understeering and not handling as you'd like, but you've got then the added drag down the straight, which means that all the way around that BMW would have been a lot slower, and that would have been the case for a couple of the drivers, especially essentially Travaglioli, who once he had got spun, got clouted by Adam Sharp. I do believe they may look at that for a whole host of reasons, but that's why Travaglioli was a little bit slower and didn't make the same impact on Vermeulen after they had collided. So damage proving to be a bit of a leveler there, and I would suggest as well, with the AMs now starting at the front, as I believe they haven't changed that from last season, the AMs now starting at the front, the pros coming from the back, it's kind of going to be about traffic management and potentially staying out of trouble as much as being fast, because if you stay out of trouble, you'll be able to pick off other positions and you won't get your car damaged, which means it will handle optimum or more optimum than, say, if you do try and go all guns blazing.
Yeah, I mean, with the longer race, you definitely want a better car for as long a period as possible. It's not like you take the advantage of gaining damage through maybe a slight collision, maybe a bumping elbows, and you only carry it for maybe 10, 15 minutes. When you've got to carry that for 35, nearly 40 minutes, it's have a much greater dramatic effect on your overall race. Okay, we are just waiting for the word to get back in whilst we're catching a few of these battles. So this is a overtake from Heymans on Kahela, which I think actually just moved out of the way there. He seems to be at just the side of the track.
Yeah, different classes at play there. So I think Dale trying to drive as sensibly as possible. He has said that he struggled around this track over the course of the week, so not a surprise there to see him just keep himself out of trouble as much as anything else.
And here we are again. Here is the yellow flag caused between Travaglioli and Vermeulen. Vermeulen getting down the inside. It was kind of almost like a progressive gaining of ground, wasn't it? It's kind of the closer you got to the corner, the more ground he took. So maybe hard to judge for Travaglioli and exactly how much you can turn in on him. But yeah, I'm not quite sure how Sharp saw it on approach. Obviously, he did hit Travaglioli quite hard.
It didn't help where Travaglioli was. He was kind of in the middle, wasn't he? And then he did start to pull away. So they'll ask about whether it was predictable and whether he'd held the brakes. If it does get reported, which my suspicion is that it will. So they'll ask about whether or not the car was predictable, that was spun. But it's a difficult one, because when you go around that corner, you haven't got a lot of time to see it anyway, because Sharp was only a couple of seconds back, wasn't he? So yeah. They haven't got a lot of time to see it, and then you've got to try and react to where you think the car is going to go as opposed to where it is. So there's a couple of factors there for the stewards to discuss. They'll also discuss whether Vermeulen was sufficiently alongside there. It's certainly one of those that's on a knife edge, isn't it? On that one, that could go either way, I would have thought. As like you say, he was sort of progressive, wasn't he? The move wasn't instant on the brakes. It was kind of sort of leading off the brakes to try and see if he can force a gap. A bit sort of Matt Neal touring car style, wasn't it? So very interesting to see exactly how the stewards find that, if they end up having to rule over that, of course.
So we're just catching this wonderful overtake of Johnny Sharp on Luke Richings, who seemed to be struggling his rears at that particular moment in time. Took a few corners to get it fully pulled off, but was commanding and ahead after that point. Now, I think we vaguely missed this on the stream. This was Starclough and Eden, two fast drivers who found themselves really far down in the grid order. So this was Eden actually going deep just before the hairpin, the bottom end of the track, and then Starclough having to really come back at him because Eden really threw it back down the inside. Then Starclough held on to that for a little while as as it sort of restarts it. So if we go on board with, say, Starclough would be quite an interesting one to.
Yeah, because I think Starclough and Eden got caught up, didn't they, in the lap 1 shenanigans going into the forecurve, coming out into the stadium section, around the stadium section. I think they got caught up in the aftermath of that, didn't they?
Yes.
With the Ferrari, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari rebounding across the track in the manner that they were. Obviously, Vidler's a bit of a passenger at that point, isn't he? So, be interested to see again how the stewards roll over that, as I'll be in no doubt, the one way or another, that will end up in the office, won't it?
No doubt about it. Everybody wants to start with a clean slate, nothing hanging over their heads. So I can't help but notice that also one thing we missed there, before anything happened, Luke Prentice was off track.
The contact wasn't there through turn 4 between him and Vidler, so it's there. I think they'll try and look at whether or not, because I think the Ferrari went right to the inside at turn 3, buffeted the Lamborghini out of the way a little bit there, you might say. Then Lamborghini says, I'm not having that, and there's a little bit of punishment, and then it's all about the rejoin, isn't it? And quite how that's seen, whether or not there's compromise. We mentioned it in stream, didn't we, about whether or not there was compromise from the driver on the track as well as the driver off the track, and it seems like there was nothing from either of them, was there? So I think that's why we ended up in the situation that we ended up in.
Yeah, it's never going to end well. Two competitive drivers trying to rejoin competitively.
They have got a bit of history too from Thursday night, so maybe or maybe not, that might have been at play too.
We love a bit of history in racing. It can't all be airy-fairy, everybody holding hands.
We need a rivalry, don't we? Everyone
you
needs
absolutely need a rivalry. So bear with me, everybody, while I just correct the cameras for the stream. We want that one, I think.
Once again, I think ended up on Chase, so we're going to go away from that. I think this proves, between the two races, this sort of gives an opportunity, doesn't it, for some of the drivers and certainly some of the people who are watching to see exactly how this is put together. So I think it's really handy to know exactly what we've got to work with. It might give the drivers, hopefully, a bit of an added appreciation for exactly what and how we achieve the viewpoints that we do. I think we can see, is that Vermeulen going out there for a lap? I think it is.
No, it's like Matt Verstappen. He's not breathing, he's racing.
Yeah, well, you can never test too much, can you? So give yourself a couple of laps out there, which 5 minutes is probably all it will be. But anything you might learn about the track, it might be that he's got a different setup on for the second race, because obviously that Ferrari is not the quickest in a straight line, is it? It's one of those that...
well, I don't know, it's faster than the Lamborghini I used to drive.
It is. It's pretty poor off of the corner, isn't it? You get a little bit of dead zone, don't you? But beyond that, it's then a little bit more of a challenge to race with, especially if you've got a slightly faster car. I think Lamborghini's good on the brakes, but you're right, it is pretty slow down the straight. But I wonder if he's just testing something out with maybe a little bit less wing on to hopefully elevate him up the order a little bit quicker, because we mentioned earlier it's got to be a bit risk-free, and obviously coming through from 35th on the grid as he will be, then there's an element of risk that you've got to take in a 40-minute race.
Yeah. So whilst we've got everybody just waiting around and we do have your attention, it's time to mention a few of the things that FRL's got to offer you. Obviously, we mentioned that this race, as well as the rest of the service, sponsored by Simnet, who offer high-quality racing equipment, which is compatible with console and I believe also with Fanatec. Obviously, you'll have to fact-check that on that one, but I believe that is correct. Obviously, as well, if you are just watching this and not participating or not in FRL, we do obviously definitely encourage you to like, subscribe, share the stream with your friends and family, get everybody watching, get everybody involved, have everybody enjoying the racing that we offer. If you're already here in the server enjoying your ACC, maybe consider expanding your racing vocabulary. Maybe join some FRL, some Formula 1, some WRC, some Gran Turismo, iRacing, Assetto Corsa. FRL has you covered almost every single night of the week. We have racing on. It has 4 wheels and race online. FRL has got you covered. And if you're already integrated in those areas, you can get even more integrated with the Patreon. Packages start at just £3 a month. Helps keep the servers running. Helps keeps the cogs churning in the league. Keeps the lights on. Keeps your commentary streams up. Keeps the admins nice and happy. And what that helps you do for your benefit is you get your own practice server, Patreon members. You get to reserve a race number if you ever want to participate. You get early access with that race number into events and leagues, and a whole bunch of extra benefits if you decide to climb the Patreon ladder. So you get probably more benefits than us, me and Jack, who are here working on your Sunday evening. So do make sure you enjoy that, and obviously if you haven't already, once again, make sure you like, share and subscribe to the stream and hit that notification bell to make sure you're never missing when FRL is going live. We have so much content to bring you. You should enjoy all of it. Online racing is just as good, if not sometimes better, than the real stuff, except we're not risking our lives. But we are about 3 minutes out. We're just waiting for drivers to come back to the pits, in the form of Chetmasov, who I think is the only driver still out there. As soon as he gets back, we will get to go again. So he's keeping everybody in suspense. So there's my light plug. You'll get another one at the end, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've got NASCAR coming as well, I think. That's something that Chris Gedman and Luke Prentice are actually starting to talk about and put together. So I think there's NASCAR coming, I think in October, November time. So if you do like V8 motors and oval racing, and I can assure you it's a lot more fun than it sounds, then that certainly will be something to watch for coming forwards. I think there's also LMU, isn't there? They've just started that, largely on PC, but I'm really looking forward to that coming out on console as well. I suspect that will be excellent for us as commentators, and also with my driving hat on as well. I think it will be the ultimate driving challenge, won't it?
It really, really will. Finally, something something even greater speed in these GT3s that we've been experiencing. Something more akin to the speed of Formula 1, but with the realism of an actual sim, which will be fantastic to bring to console. Other things to look out for is Project Motor Racing, which I don't think is going to quite make the end of the year, but is definitely in the pipeline for consoles. We've got Endurance Motorsport, which is another one, which is a part sim, part manager. You can jump forwards and back and off into the pit lane, to and from the car as the racing is going on. That's one I'm looking forward to. And I think other ones we've got coming as well. I think also eventually Assetto Corsa Evo will come to console one day in the distant future. But as of when it arrives, FRL will be the place to be. They will tackle it and they will bring you those games and all the action. So be there or be square.
Let's have a look at the grid then. So quite a few drivers out of position. I suspect that Vidler will have fewer problems in fourth position than he might otherwise have or from race number one. He's starting fourth as the first pro. The second pro on the grid is 8 places behind in Andrew Eden. Now, Andrew Eden is not quite on the same pace at the moment as Vidler, so I suspect that should Vidler keep his sensible hat on, he won't have quite the same issues that he had earlier on, especially with Spazniak being an AM, and then you've got Serpentine and Chekmazov ahead in silver class. So that's where the battle's going to be. And if you're out of position here, if you're one of the drivers such as a Vidler, maybe a Yablonsky or a Serpentine, then this is kind of your moment, really, in terms of trying to get yourself an unexpected win, with obviously all the issues that you might have had in race number one.
Yeah, I mean that starting position from Vidler is absolutely lethal. We do expect him to make those positions up pretty quickly. I mean, I'm not saying that Serpentine or Chetmasov are doormats in any way. I mean, they're going to put up a fight and they're fast drivers. But we do expect Vidler to, in the 40 minutes, to come through eventually on those two. And then Spazniak with the Amtir finishing last in the last race, we do expect him to be passed in quick succession as well. So we're on board with him, and we're going to get the rundown from him at the start of this race.
Yeah, expect a little bit more action on lap 1 as well, even compared to what we had in race number 1. Vidler's got to bring his brain, though, a little bit. It's no good just having the attitude that you're faster than someone, so you'll pass them. You've got to play this cutely, because it's very easy, especially with drivers in a different class, to squander the advantage that you have, early doors. So certainly something for Vidler to think about, as opposed to go with the broad over brain approach.
So here we are rolling. Very short single file formation, and now getting into a 2x2 formation. Now, even as an AM driver, if you've got the know-how to be forward in your box, you might still be at a good start here. There's not too many fast starters in the front of the grid there. In terms of actual car performance, I think the best start will probably be Yablonski and the McLaren.
Green light.
And now we are go. Some drivers at the back are still coming on the final turn, and it already looks like Chetmasov is already making a move down the inside. He's already side by side with Zabazniak, but he gets caught out by the grass and then has a problem behind, and we have cars sideways. And then Chetmasov is getting absolutely swallowed up in the first turn after showing early promise. That has invited Serpentine back through, and the top 4 at least have started going to the first few turns exactly how they started.
Cherry Moore was one of those that got spun. I think Bozerin, the Bentley, continuing his bad luck from race number 1, is another one that was in the fence a little bit early on. So we'll see how this shakes out going into the Dunlop.
I'm seeing Andrew Eden trying to make a move into turn 6. That was risky, but he's got it done. And he's attempting another one around the outside of the Ford curve. He's going to get muscled out of room though. He's on the gravel, but he's found the line nonetheless. He's tucked in behind. That is the Lexus. Oh, as they're down the inside goes Trotman, I believe that was. Yeah, Trotman. Is around the outside, and that is Yablonski trying to take a dive. And they're still side by side.
Trying to fight 2 fronts there, Yablonski, 1 pro and 1 AM. It's about traffic management, and Eden's managed the traffic really, really well in that Aston Martin.
But around the outside, that was the gold car of... Was that Starcroft?
Kelleher. It is, it's Kelleher in 8th place in the AM Ferrari. Certainly showing a bit better than before, but he'll have Eden going past us. I think there's a recovery. That's Spazniak in the Ferrari, isn't it? He's gone off, so responded pole position. But Kelleher now under attack from Eden. It's about managing the traffic compared to your class.
So Eden is putting himself in quite a lot of space where he's getting crowded out. And ahead, that was the Lexus of Trotman that got caught out there at the chicane, and he had to bound across it and lose about 2 or 3 positions. But he's now coming back. He's found traction out the final turn, and he's coming up behind. Oh no, he's actually backing out, it seems.
Yeah,
Eden down the
further back. With race 1, the winner in silver, Lee Colbitz, having also spun at the chicane. There's been a lot of contact further back, so again, a busy night for the stewards. Vidler now.
I've just caught Vermeulen, winner of the last race, has already had incidents and is now off into the pits. So that early charge is gone from Vermeulen.
Always a risk, isn't it, with race 2 in this? I said about traffic management earlier. Travaglioli's also in the pits as well. So both Leeds drivers have hit strife, haven't they, in the second session? And that's the risk here, in that you really do have to be as careful as possible. Sometimes a collision's got your name on it, but in terms of managing that traffic, if you win the first race, if you're set back in the second race, then it really, your points it takes a real hit because you've got 40 minutes to catch up, but you're nearly half a lap behind.
So I've just got Starcloth undercutting Kilhella whilst trying to catch Trotman in the Lexus. So maybe that was a tactical move from Kilhella, just to put Starcloth between him and Trotman.
Greg, I think there's something that we've missed. You can see the yellow block, which has the number 1 in, so there's a mandatory pit stop that all drivers have to take. I think this is a new rule change they were debating, weren't they? And I suspect that that might be why some of the leaders have come in to avoid the worst of the traffic and try and see if they can undercut a load of the field. So I suspect that that is why there's been so many pits on lap 1.
Ah, there we go. Cleared up after 2 laps. Eden looking to make the main charge from the Pro Tit, but he looks like he's going to have a move around that side. But no, the McLaren of Jablonski has chosen 2 little brakes and opted for too much track, and he's gone off and wide, and that's not going to be a move on Eden anytime soon. And we've got Johnny Sharp overtaking Kelleher. And then we've got Adam Sharp, I think, is just past Zabazniak. Zabazniak, who is bleeding positions here. Just lost another one to Townsend, and I think is about to lose another one to Kalugin. I do feel sorry for drivers when this sort of stuff happens, because it's just one move after another, and trying to keep yourself clean as drivers are overtaking you one after the other is really difficult.
It's really difficult to keep your head because, and whilst it doesn't happen to me as typically towards Pro or Silver, it's really difficult to keep your head. If you're losing position left, right and centre, it can really knock your rhythm. So for the AM drivers, the real skill here is keeping your head when you're losing 3 or 4 positions, trying to park it and move forward relative to your class. I think Vidler's disconnected, so I suspect he's in the pits now. And I suspect that that's why he's no longer appearing at the top end. I think Vidler disconnected and has returned back to the session.
Oh, sorry, we've got Jablonski trying to make a move on Chekhamisov into the chicane at the end of sector 2. He was side by side to the Schumacher S, and with the amount of curb that Chekhamisov's just taken, Jablonski's really going to catch up here. Takes a wider entry around the final turn. Is that smart? Now the Lexus is an absolute speed demon down the straight, so maybe this isn't the area that Jablonski's going to catch
final corner, P7 at the moment. Looks like there's a collision between Kelleher and Trotman, so both drivers are falling back down. I think that look at the way in which they've parked. It's very difficult for all drivers. I think they've managed that really well, to be honest with you, because it could have been easy for one of them to reverse back out, and to the detriment of their own races, both drivers have had to stay there and wait for some cars to go around. So good driving from the pair of them, even if we didn't see how the collision happened.
Yeah, I expect the collision will definitely be investigated, I'm sure, but in the manner in which they rejoin the track, no problem at all from our end, we can see.
So Jablonski now is the main driver, isn't he? Is just trying to see if he can get one. He's going to have to force the Lexus into a mistake, because the Lexus has got so much speed down the straights that he's going to be almost impossible to pass on the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it seems quite evenly matched as this sort of chalk and cheese relationship in this fight. The one's got an advantage of half the track, the one's got an advantage of half the track, and it's just levelling them out. This part of the track, Jablonski definitely stronger, can close in under the light braking, carry the speed really, really well. But he needs the drivable drives out of turn 12 here. He's found his way, what's going to become the outside. Can he flip back to the inside? Looks like Chekhamisov defends it well.
I think we've also lost Luke Prentice from the race as well. I can see that he doesn't appear to be in, and we are one driver short, so another one there. As for battle for P6, just behind this might be one to catch after the Jablonski pass, but the battle for P6 might just be coming to a head.
Oh, as Gedman has gone quite wide, this invited Sharp into the mix. This Then Sharp is already ahead. Now it depends if Gedman can make any sharp moves. Into the first turn, he goes deep on the brakes, he gets his nose in. Oh, but a slight tap and a little bit of a rotation, and I think that's all she wrote in regards to that battle. But no, Gedman's found traction.
Yeah, Porsche's excellent on traction, but I think Sharp should kick on now once he's got the drop on Gedman, and I suspect then they're starting to look up for Sharp, because whilst a couple have pitted from Pro, he's up there in what is currently second in class, and has got a real chance, with certainly some of the other drivers having already pitted, of vaulting himself up the order. But Jablonski's still chasing Checkmas for P3, haven't we? Yeah. So that's looked like that's going to come to an end any time too. Yeah,
I've just flicked down to the net lead actually. The ones that are pitted, Mr. Overtaker and Starcloth, P19 and 20. Starcloth attempting to make a move on the essentially pro leader of those that have pitted. But I suspect I don't think there's quite enough time in it for Starcloth or Mr. Overtaker to be considered the fully net leader. We've still got a lot of drives to go through, a lot of time to be given back in the pits by those ahead. Be interested to see how close Eden is on Mr. Overtaker when the pit stops are run.
What I have noticed is certainly some of those that have pitted, so Overtaker, Starcloth and Travaglioli, who pitted not because they had damage but for strategic reasons, they're starting to catch the AMs that have not pitted. So they're starting to get potentially held up by some drivers who haven't yet stopped, and so we're on a different strategy. So something to see as the race pans out exactly how that goes. But at the moment it's Travaglioli, Starcloth and Overtaker, certainly the lead three of those that have pitted. So it'll be interesting to see how badly they get held up.
And crucially, we did notice that Vermeulen was damaged early, and he seems to be carrying that damage still, because he has not made the advancements that Travaglioli has made from the same position, give or take.
Car looks a lot better, so I suspect that he's dropped off the back. He had a lot of damage to fix, didn't he? So I suspect that he might have fixed it, because I'm just looking at him now and the car looks good as new. So he's just on the back now of Van der Waal, and I would suspect that he might start making moves, but he had to drop so far back in order to fix that damage. So I would suspect that it's just a case of damage limitation, as it were.
So unfortunately, a bit of a net loss so far tonight for Jazzman. But oh, here he goes. There's a dive into the final turn. We pick him up. He makes moves almost by request.
Yeah, he must have known his ears must have been burning. Bit of cooperative driving there from Van der Waal there. Still sensible enough. Didn't fight it too much and has lost the minimal amount of time. So sensible driving there all round.
I've just picked up Cherry Moore on the back of Coppens here. Both drivers in the Ferrari, both looking a bit worse for wear, and they're trying to close in the back of Danny Davis. Oh, and Cherry Moore's got a great drive at the Schumacher S, but it's been closed off quite quickly by Coppens.
They want to look at the battle for P9 as Kalugin holds off Wazza in the Bentley. So these two are some of the ones that didn't pit, but both got involved in issues early in the race.
Yeah, Wazza looking very comfortable with it. Oh, Kalugin's got a massive hit by the curb, and Kalugin's off onto the grass, and Wazza slides through. And that should be all she wrote.
Easy meet there for Wazza there, just sensibly placing his car, and I think you're right, that should be all she wrote. Kalugan to provide no further threat to the Irishman, you would have thought.
Back to P15, chase for Coppens in P14. Coppens having to go defensive, but seems to have the traction at the final turn. But I do suspect, I reckon that the desperate moves are going to start to come in now, because they're going to want to pit ahead of one another.
The thing is, if you're both of these Ferraris, do you fix the damage? How much time is that going to cost? Because they both look awful, don't they? So do you pit and do you repair the damage and know that you're going to lose a load of time, but you might just be able to pass him if you do it quick enough? Yeah, or if you're Coppens, for example, do you maybe pit and hold and not take the damage and maybe just hope to hold him up by the time you get towards the end?
So I've just gone board with Mr. Overtaken. He's got that gap down to the next unpitted car of Cherry Moore down to 4.5 seconds. It's closing all the time. He's going to hope that these two either push on and stop fighting, or they get in and get out of the pits.
That is the risk you take, but by pitting as early as you do, you will save a bit of time, obviously, by not spending as much time in traffic. But
The traffic
when you
will
start
find
to
you in the
catch
end.
it'll find you, unless you can make a move. Especially with two cars battling, they're not going to give two hoots about your position as race lead. So when you've got two cars battling, they'll be focusing on them and them only. It's not going to matter to them that Overtaker's already pitted and is the net leader. That's his problem to solve.
You're seeing Travaglioli's awfully close in the back of Starclough. The Starclough, who really fancied himself from the last race, in an early pit position, has now got the P2 drive from last race, leaving Vermeulen way back where. He goes, for a bit of a look into the chicane. But Starclough does well, keeps his composure through the chicane. But Travaglioli is looking for a move absolutely everywhere. Goes tight to the inside, and I think he's scared Starclough off the line. He has.
Getting some compliance, I suspect, from Starclough. Doesn't want to be getting involved in a different cars battle, a different classes battle. All sensible enough there from Starclough. I do subscribe to the theory that Travaglioli may have had somewhat of an aura, but I think that's more from Starclough just not wishing to get involved. The battle for third still unresolved, isn't it? I do wonder if Jablonski may consider an undercut here, because he is starting to get held up by Chepnazov, and at the moment it's a bit of a stalemate, isn't it, between these two? So do you do something different? Well, you've got half the race, 24 minutes left of the pit window, so maybe worth taking a look if you're Jablonski at a different strategy.
I mean, this is Russell on Lando on Russell in Hungary, really, isn't it? I mean, there is a chance Jablonski could go on to win this. He's just got to get this pit lap right, find himself a good gap, and then maybe the fight is on for the lead, because he's not far off them at all.
Maybe by default, really, that he sort of falls into the best strategy. I see exactly what you mean with Russell, or in this case, Chepnazov, proving to be a bit of a cork in the bottle here.
Because he's definitely falling off what was 2 seconds, now 3 seconds. Chepnazov to Eden. It's definitely falling off. Eden.
If you want to see the battle for 15th, I think Mr. Overtaker and Travaglioli getting in amongst the slower drivers there.
Cherry Moore holding this up. I think Cherry Moore is going to be quite compliant here. Doesn't fight Mr. Overtaker, but will he want to lift off enough for the Ferrari Travaglioli? No, he doesn't. Oh, and that is Coppens going deep and on the grass, and that's what Travaglioli on the grass in reaction to it. And now he's getting massively held up. Can he dip between these two cars when they're fighting? I mean, what can he really do?
And amongst that, Cherry Moore's got Coppens, hasn't he? So he's worked out as a net beneficiary there, car 186.
Yeah, I mean, Coppens very much lost it for me on the grass. Coppens then under threat from Starclough now as well, but this should be an easy one done. Starclough goes through nicely. And it's like Travaglioli now on the back of Cherry Moore and has now dropped back from Mr. Overtaker, who's now got nearly a 3-second gap on Travaglioli now.
Bit of a queue forming for P19 with Spazniak. Still hasn't pitted, remember. Starting to get in amongst drivers that have. P19 Spazniak in the Ferrari. It's a difficult time to debut, isn't it? A lot of these drivers are seasoned pros, and he's coming in cold, isn't he, in the AM? And it's a bit of a baptism of fire here as Donkin goes down the inside. I think that's Candy from a baby there. Sensible driving all round from these two, but will it be the same for Richings and Kazakevich behind?
I mean, that livery from Kazakevich, that is gorgeous.
Lovely, isn't it?
I do like that. I know there's obviously a few extra liveries been added to the game recently, which is lovely to see. Now that Travaglioli got me more of an impetus now. Looks, he gets a bit of curb as he looks to the inside there. Starclough now looking back at him. Now Travaglioli just needs to cool his head down now. He will get these moves done. Mr. Overtaker is not unachievable to get back. He's still got half a race left to get Mr. Overtaker. And
do you remember I spoke at the top of the show? Sorry, do you remember I spoke at the top of the race saying about traffic management? Mr. Overtake has managed it so well. He's got past Davies as well, so he's put Darren Mark Davies and Cherry Moore in between, whereas Travaglioli has struggled a bit with passing Cherry Moore, got a little bit hot under the collar, whereas Overtaker in the Mustang has managed the traffic really well, and that could be a real secret to success over the course of this season.
I mean, yes, you could put some of it down to the fortunality of Coppens going off and causing a bit of haywire into the final corner, but you make your own luck. He managed that scenario, and he made it through where Travaglioli didn't. Travaglioli, in comparison, went off track in that scenario, and that few moments of indecision or panic is what's cost Travaglioli here. Now Travaglioli finally has got around the outside and ahead of Cherry Moore as the Starclough. But Starclough there again, traffic management Starclough, as soon as he had the opportunity, he has gone through with Travaglioli.
Yeah, Starclough, an experienced driver, despite not having been racing so much in this series, and using that experience well there to advance his position with minimum effort. As we can see now, I think, Wazza versus Townsend, two stalwart division.
Yeah, so I think these two drivers, being as close as they are and being off the back of Gedman, then surely a pit is imminent for these guys, unless they've already fueled for a half and half strategy.
Doesn't even need to be that. You can take 1 litre.
Oh, here he goes. Here he goes into the chicane. Wazza found some great speed, but he's gone a bit deep, but that's okay. The second part of the chicane is more as in immediate response. Townsend dived into the pits. Great thinking as he lost that position.
Yeah, Townsend doing the only thing he could really do there, whereas he'd been passed by Wazza, who didn't want to be compromised going into the final corner. This might be now whether he thinks he might have a bit of a gap to come back into. Townsend not obviously fighting for the overall lead, but certainly looking to be one of the leading lights in AM class. You think Kalugin and Fars have just gone past him, but it's certainly looking good for a strong result for Townsend in the pink McLaren.
It is, and I'm just going towards the front of the grid here. Whilst there's a bit of a gap once again from Jablonski to Chetmasov, Johnny Sharp has joined the back with Adam Sharp, the two Sharp brothers, on the back of Chetmasov. So Chetmasov really needs to get this done on Jablonski. Now, there's no time for waiting now for Chetmasov. He needs to get past Jablonski, which isn't going to happen anytime soon because he has dropped back from him. He's now a second. He's not in firing range of Jablonski. So now he's left himself open for an in-tier battle between him and Sharp, as well as Adam Sharp in for the battle as well.
But that's a move for position from Jablonski. Jablonski was all over the back of Chetmasov and has at some point relieved Chetmasov of the position. So at this point now, Chetmasov may as well come into the pits in the next couple of laps to see if he can do something different in terms of coming out in a gap or potentially trying to overhaul Jablonski. But Jablonski now over the hills and far away, isn't he? So I suspect that Jablonski won't be caught there as he goes wide, doesn't he? That's Sharp Junior going down the inside, and that's
Chetmasov wanted to go into the pits. Exactly as you said, he wanted the pits
entry,
but because he went deep and over the curb, he couldn't pull the car back fast enough.
They may take a look at that. They may take a look at that for a dangerous pit entry. I'm not sure. There wasn't anything in the briefing, but that's certainly an interesting way of going in. It would have put the fear of God into both Johnny and Adam Sharp as they made their way through there.
So a bit of field spread occurring now, but I've picked up Heyman's towards the back. P22 is looking at Richings. So this should be a relatively routine move. Heyman's very fast driver in what I'm going to refer to this season as the Batmobile, in the all-black Ferrari, but sensibly doesn't make a move there because then what Richings has only just managed to put down the anchors for that and get it turned in for the chicane.
Yeah, Hyman's driving the official car for the New Zealand rugby team, isn't he? There, certainly a very striking Ferrari, and it does look very racy, but it's just about now whether he can harness it against the experienced Richings, who may not have the overall speed, but certainly has a bit of guile when he's in combat. So should be interesting thing with Kazakevich just up the road. As
he does just overtake Kalugin, who have just caught coming out the pits. Was that? It was Klugen, wasn't
He
it?
would have been. Yeah, he would have been coming out of the pits. So
Klugen's still appearing in P9.
Yeah, so showing in P9, but that's ACC doing ACC things. It'll be ending up about 20 seconds. It all starts to shake itself out. So Klugen going backwards in the pro in the AM tier, having been showing quite strongly a little bit earlier on.
So with the extra pits coming into play, it does like Mr. Overtaker is genuinely the net leader of this race. Now we're left with only the top 7 leading and still yet to pit. I mean, there is a big gap with Gedman to Sharp, but that's not quite enough to buff out that leading pack for a pit stop. I mean, it's 12 seconds from Overtaker to Wazza, and another 9 seconds between Gedman and Wazza. So maybe Eden comes out just behind this battle with fresh tyres, but if they've got any clean air, they can use it and they can possibly see off Eden, because Eden, actually he does have a good amount of clean air, does Eden? He's coming up behind car number 8 of Zabazniak. Heyman's so committed. He's getting too committed, in fact. He's on the grass, and what a rejoin. Incredibly controlled with dirty tyres.
Will have been a couple of interesting moments in the cockpit of that car. You're looking now to see who might be. You're going to spend, if you're only going to put 1 litre in, 40 seconds thereabouts in the pit lane. So I'm just looking now to see perhaps the gap between Eden and Overtaker, Mr. Overtaker, isn't quite that, is it? He's got, I would say, probably about 30 seconds. So you're just looking to see now where the top 7 may drop into. I suspect that they won't go as far backwards as we're expecting. Certainly not the lead 4 or 5, but it's now with Gedman 9 seconds back, and he's what 15 seconds clear of Overtaker. It speaks to something that the top 5 may still come out in the top 10 once this all sort of shakes out, and from there, especially the quicker drivers, they can start to go racing.
Yeah, I fully expect Gedman with the tight pack that is the middle of the pack. I fully expect him to come out probably somewhere, dare I say, around just ahead of Davies. Check myself.
Yeah, there or thereabouts, isn't he? So you've got Darren Mark Davies is just he's going through the full.
Oh, sorry, sharp on sharp. Into the first turn. That's done. Routine, potentially coordinated.
Yep, Sharp with an E going past Sharp with no E there, with consummate ease really. It's an excellent move down the inside. I think Sharp again, Johnny Sharp there again driving a bit more sensible, because different classes, doesn't really want to get in the way of the quicker driver if there's nothing to be gained from it. So those two, they're really behaving well.
As Wazza has now pitted
behind them. Who's that Ferrari that's come out behind them? Is that a lapped car? Is that Vidler perhaps? Who's that there? That might be kind of that's Vidler, so he's recovering, isn't he, from being a couple laps down due to connectivity issues. So we would expect that Vidler is going around just to score points, isn't he, at this moment in time? Not many, but he's back in the race and he's back giving it another go.
So we've got Wazza. Now we're waiting for that to adjust itself, because I don't think it is where it says he is, but this will be the first indication of the lead cars that pitted late. We're going to wait to see where Wazza actually drops down to.
I would wait to the Ford, not to the Ford code, the Dunlop hairpin, because that's where second one is.
So he's down in P15 behind Donkin. P14 behind Donkin. I've caught him on the track map.
Yeah, he's just clear of Townsend, isn't he? Meanwhile, Vermeulen's just making his way through. He's just past Gordon Brown for 22nd. He's got Marshall, Colpitts and Kalugin straight ahead. So Vermeulen one to watch. He's been doing moves on request, hasn't he? And I suspect that he may be one to watch there for the next 12.5 minutes.
But if I know Brown, he'll absolutely relish defending from. Oh no, he's already. Timing screen's done us dirty. He's already passed him.
He has.
All these close camera angles, I couldn't see.
Brown at turn one early in the
Heyman's
lap.
on Richings. Heyman's goes deep, and that allows Richings back through. And now Heyman's stuck Kalugin trying to come around the outside. He's picked up a bit of gravel. And I think this will level out how it started in the Schumacher S. But Kalugin, for a moment, looks like he might have picked off Heyman's unexpectedly. But Heyman's getting a bit frustrated behind Richings. Just couldn't quite get it done.
This might be why the lead car's staying out, because they can see on the track map. Some of them will have a lot bigger track maps similar to what we've got. So they'll see that this battle, especially if you're thrown or not thrown, but if you're Adam Sharp, I should say, they'll see all of this. Oh my goodness me! I don't know if you've just seen this. Yeah, that's Hyman's going into the gravel now, having made a bit of a late move going into turn one. Hyman's now having missed his braking point completely. He's now drops 5 or 6 positions, and so I suspect that Ferrari is not going any further forward after that. So a bit of a poor lap there for Wouter Hymans, and he's now just gone down the inside and ended up going down the escape route, and that's ruined the front end of his Ferrari.
Sorry, Jack, we might have a change of position for P2 here. Well, Jablonski really closed up to the back of Serpentine here. Now, with it being this close, will there be a move for the pits? No, they carry on. A 10th is the gap. Jablonski done a fantastic job after making those earlier moves to get himself up into P3. Now, finally putting time to the leaders. Serpentine having dropped back a little bit on Eden. Jablonski looked oh so close coming through the final turns. But Sharp is here as well. These two, Serpentine and Jablonski, in a bit of a pro sandwich up at the top, both still yet to pit.
Jablonski looking really ragged there. Serpentine's pace has deserted him, so again it might come into strategy. Maybe you might want to undercut as opposed to keep fighting on two fronts, but Jablonski looking really ragged there, so needs to scoop that back up and have another go at second place a little bit later on.
Well, I think we're having to sit behind Serpentine has damaged his pace quite significantly, because Sharp is right there now and he's ready to pounce.
I would take a look at the battle for 18th as Vermeulen has caught the back of Colpitts going into turn one.
So Green on the back of the black BMW. He's going to really tight to the inside. Get it stopped. The BMW turns in, just tucks in behind, but then gets a bit of a snap and loses out. And that's the end of that fight.
Very sensible driving there. Colpitts with a lot of damage. And with Vermeulen now coming through like a hot knife through butter, made sense to let the different class car go through on his way up the field.
So this pack of 3, Serpentine, Jablonski, Sharp, surely one of them has the pit now. This is damaging all of their racers to keep in this formation. And one of them has. That
Two of
is,
them have.
Two of them. So Serpentine and Jablonski have gone for the pits. Now Sharp, having closed in and only having lost 2 laps of pace behind them, can now escape and get after Eden. Close that gap, see if he can undercut him or overcut him for the pits in the closing stages.
That's released Sharp now, who was back in the mid 56s, and so a whole second off what his pace should be. So we'll see now, maybe over the next couple of laps, just exactly what Adam Sharp can do now and how much time he's lost, how much time he can gain back on those around him. So
Battle of the Barges down in P11. Got Wazza trying for an inside move into the chicane. Backs out. Over the curb heavily. Only the Barges can take that first part of the chicane that heavy. Very impressive to see. But he's kept it really composed to the final corner. This isn't really a move for anything in class. This is very much for Wazza to go after Travaglioli, which is a long shot at best, but he moves down to the inside and a routine positioning for the Apex, and through he goes.
Bit of race management there from Donkin as well, not getting too involved there, even if he is having another go back. I think that's position sorted. Donkin there might just let Wazza go and cause a bit of carnage with Chepmazov and Starkloff up ahead. It might just be able to pull Donkin along.
I mean, that's the best you can hope for, really, because that is the lead pack of those that haven't pitted. Starkloff in the net lead of the silver tier. And like I said, if Wazza can go and disrupt Gedman's and Serpentine. Serpentine though should be on fairly fresh tyres. He's only pitted in the last couple of laps, and he's not too far behind Gedman. But Gedman a fair bit off Serpentine. Serpentine, who did start quite towards the front this race and has held on to that position quite firmly.
It was a fight for P14 with Vermeulen coming through, and Richings very much in the hot seat in that McLaren with Kalugin for company. Kalugin's just been passed by Vermeulen, so I don't see that being a factor. But Vermeulen now on the prowl once again into the Kumo chicane.
And then sets him up around the outside. He's going to cut back and he's going to run all the way down to the chicane. I can't see him waiting until after the chicane for this one. He's already had to get out from his gearbox. He's going to like to try it round the outside, you know. Incredibly brave on the brakes, but a lot of drive, a lot of faith in Richings there to be able to carry the speed appropriately behind him.
Apart from Richings there, no collisions caused, even if he might claim to have been in the right. Vermeulen, I think, sensed that, and both drivers there certainly about survival, with Vermeulen now looking at a potential top 10 finish, which from the position he was in is going to be an excellent recovery.
Yeah, and potentially, if he really gets a move on, depending on Wazza's progress, potentially a P5 in class. And that's about the only really achievable pro tier driver he can go after.
I'm just looking at the times now for Adam Sharp. I mentioned earlier he was in the 56s, stuck behind that battle. He's now gained half a second on that time, so in the 56 flats, but he's taken over a second out of Eden, and so he might now be well on his way with only a couple of laps left of the pits window, so I suspect he'll be coming in probably this lap. But let's just see what he sets now. 55.6, so certainly getting the hammer down now.
So Eden, having seen that pace, has gone into the pits. The man who's led this race from the very early stages. Be very keen to see where he comes out.
Where it shakes out, isn't it? Because position is in at the moment. He'll come out.
He's going to come out behind Mr. Overtaker.
So
he goes Travaglioli. There's a lap car of car number 8. Car 1, 2, 3. This is Starclough. Is going to make it past him.
Big Starclough's just coming out behind, isn't he? They're going to go side by side, but I think Eden's got it covered. So that is P5 for Eden. So he's vaulted himself up the order and kept himself well in play there in the Aston Martin. Just a couple of drivers left to pit. Now,
obviously, he's not left himself much time to get these tyres warmed up and then pushing on in this race. So where Eden is, I don't think there'll be much in the way of progression, more in the case of defending from Starclough now.
Be place retention, won't it, with the two Sharps out front, with both of them likely to be coming in to the pit lane this time around.
So it'll be a net P3 for Eden at this point. Still waiting for the Sharps to come into the pits, but surely that has to be this lap. Because Eden was leading them, so unless they can put a lap in that's maybe 3-4 seconds faster, then it's going to be really tricky getting out and competitive. I think Mr. Overtaker is definitely going to overtake the lead here. Out there by himself with distant company there from Travaglioli, 1.6 behind.
So this is where we see, I suspect that Adam Sharp will probably be coming out in, I would suggest, P6 behind Starclough to go after him, and Sharp might be vulnerable to Czechmasov and Serpentine. Unless he has a really good pit stop, Johnny Sharp might be vulnerable to those two drivers. A little bit tardy as well going into the pit lane as well. Looks like he lost a little bit of time, so we'll see how this shakes out.
So everybody's favourite defensive roadblock. Oh, car number 37. That's Sharp.
That is Adam Sharp.
It's 30 seconds stop go for speeding into the pits. So that
Now,
is
that will get added on to the race time because he won't have time to serve it.
should be an even bigger penalty.
Probably looking at probably about a minute. I think 130 seconds or something like that. It's going to be, effectively, it's race ending. You may as well pack up and go home now because that is terminal for his race as it is. And he'd come out in 5th position, or 6th position, so behind Starklov, I do believe. So, yeah, disaster for the Yorkshireman.
About the only saving grace is if you hope we have not been really been keeping track on those that have been under blue flags, but if he's on the lap ahead, that might save him some positions.
See where he comes out now. I suspect it's even worse because I think he's retained 3rd place he has. So what was a podium finish is going to be pretty much last in class. It's nobody a lap down in pro up until you get to Vidler, who obviously has connectivity issues further down the race, and Luke Prentice, who has not completed the race.
I mean, it is a huge shame. I mean, I imagine he's probably slammed on as well. He's probably actually cost himself time in the process, but crossing that line
that may well be why it said that I thought that he gained as much time as he had, because he's actually, if you can see there, he leapfrogged Andrew Eden, and he wasn't anywhere close to being 8 seconds clear of Johnny Sharp, so that may be a reason as to why, as we see now a last lap lead battle, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I've just picked that up. Travaglioli got himself within a second, so I think we're going to stay on board with this for the duration of the final lap, because it could be absolutely fireworks. Travaglioli coming all the way from the back of the grid, a second to last place out of the reverse grid, and all the way back up to P2, chasing down a very, very well hard-earned lead if he manages to take it from him. But this track is tight in places. Where it's wide, it's slow, and your traction zones have to be flowing to get the drive. And he's picking up a slipstream, but that Mustang isn't going anywhere on a straight in regards to anywhere closer to Travaglioli. So Travaglioli really has to make Mr. Overtaker think, make him make a mistake. This is for the win in pro and overall. There is an overall championship the drivers do need to concern themselves with, but that isn't this. This is for bragging rights in pro. Travaglioli now down to under 4 tenths. He's going to have to drive absolutely perfectly, because Mr. Overtaker looks like he does have this one covered. Unless there's any late mistakes, challenges. Doesn't look like he took the Schumacher S is all that great, but the carried speed has done him well. Now this is a crucial corner. If he can set up this curve, then maybe he can get a good run down the straight, pick up the slipstream from the Mustang, but the Mustang has got a good enough drive, and if he gets in ahead of the chicane here, that should be pretty much it. Just doesn't need to overcommit. And he's done very well through there. Will Travaglioli stand this final dive? He thought about it. He definitely thought about it. But well cut off by Mr. Overtaker. And he now powers to the line. A well-earned win for Mr. Overtaker. Bit of a weave. Travaglioli tried to chase into the line. And Eden, a great drive from towards the front. Held on to that position despite, I think, this suboptimal strategy holding it late. That's a P3 for him, so well done. Starkloff chasing the pro drivers to the line, P4 for him. Then Jablonski, who made crucial overtake, and look, he's left those who overtook earlier in the absolute dust, and he comes home for a P2 in class. Johnny Sharp in P6, Chetmasov in P7, Serpentine in P8, then Wazza, the detached member of the pro crew, down in P10, P4 in class. Then Donkin, very good finish, P11. And Vermeulen didn't quite get his top 10 finish, and he didn't.
Well, he's 5th in class, so very much a save there from Jared Vermeulen there, 5th in class for the South African.
And then Townsend with a fantastic win, actually. Sorry, we didn't catch as we were playing bumper cars at the end there. That's a Townsend with a P13 and a win overall, and then Kalugin with a P2 in class. Well done to him with Brown, and then Marshall on debut, starting from the pit lane in both races. with a P3 in class. So fantastic racing. However, we did suspect that he was very fast and maybe will get moved after this race, maybe into silver. Adam Sharp, after all of his trials and tribulations, does end up down in P21, second to last in the pro class. Actually, last out of the classifieds. And then we've got Kazakevich down P22.
Got David Fast 23rd ahead of Brush Tully, Van der Waal and Coppens in 26th. Felix in 27th ahead of Thacker, I think, in 28th. And Cherry Moore, who got caught up earlier on, Gav Cherry Moore in 29th. And then you've got Darren Mark Davies, the commentary goat from before. Shabazniak in 31st from pole position, a bit of a baptism of fire ahead of Trotman, Vidler, Kelleher, De Bont and Prentice, who all had strife in the race. I think Prentice an early casualty, whereas De Bont and Kelleher out early on as well.
Yeah, well done, Townsend. Just seen you pop up in the comments, so well done to you, my friend. Just going to quickly save the highlights once again. We'll go to that as we usually get a few guests come in after the stream to have a little bit of a chat. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Right. Save the entire replay. Let's try that again. There we go, everybody. So yeah, that has been your round one for Simnet Super Sprint Sunday. Obviously, we are going to pause for any interviews that want to be done post-race, but for that, we're going to give them something to peruse over in the form of the highlights. But that was thoroughly enjoyable. Some really long-form tactics at play there. Some people pitting early, some people pitting very late. Only very few drivers actually pitting in the middle of the race.
Yeah, I think they went from either the start or the finish. I think the start has obviously got some benefits in that you spend guaranteed time in clear air, whereas if you leave it as late as possible, then you might have a chance to, if you've got into clear air, you might have a chance to overcut some of those who might have got stuck coming back through the field. I think it worked. I think there were fewer incidents compared to last season, where it was at times a bit difficult to steward. So I think from that end, I think the admins have made the right decision there in implementing a pit stop, and I think that the drivers responded well to the challenge, to be honest, in terms of thinking their way through that race. Certainly there wasn't quite so many yellow flags as there was in the last couple of seasons that we've done this.
Yeah, I mean, out of everybody that got involved in stuff today, I mean, I saw at least 5 cars sideways before the first turn, and the fact we only actually had 4 drivers really retire from the race is a testament to the change that's been made. So we are going to get this overtake between Jablonski and Eden up on the screen. So he likes to go round the outside, a long way around the outside. And seemingly
he set it up, got a little bit stuck on the marbles, didn't he? So yeah, I think it's one of those. Well, this is one of the tracks where it's really only one place to overtake. So everything you do up to that point has to be perfect. Otherwise, it's a case of being opportune. And I think the drivers as well with the reverse grid race responded to that quite well. We did see a couple of cars sideways, didn't we, into turn 1, but I think that's standard turn 1 at the Nurburgring. So nothing untoward there. But the one, I think, for one of the drivers, it was Cherry Jones as well. He came in, he was one of the early casualties, got himself right to the back, but he did fight through to finish somewhere in mid-pack. So kudos there to the newcomer for sticking it out in what could have been some pretty tough circumstances.
I mean, we've got to apologise for Sabazniak for a lot of these overtakes being on him when he's just doing his civil duty. Oh, it's got Kalugin, a bit of a. I think that was an intentional touch. It was just on a bend, converging lines on a bend thing that was, but both drivers came away reasonably cleanly. Made Sebastian a bit of a roadblock going into the chicane, and oh, look at everybody did so well getting around those two cars in the final turn as well. So really, really well done. But
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Dale and it was Trotman, wasn't it? Dale Kelleher and Paul Trotman got together that way, but I think once they were in that situation, they both did incredibly well, as you say, to not really increase the risk there and stay as close to the inside as they possibly could.
Yeah, so here we actually do have a genuine position hard fought overtake here. This is Adam Sharp looking to overtake Gedman, who seemed just went a little bit wide, got on the marbles on the outside, and then with the extra speed, I think Adam Sharp made light work of this by the end. I think this one was caught on the stream, and Gedman being Gedman does always like to try and fight it back. Sharp did very much say no, as there's a little touch on the apex. This is Starclough on Trotman in the Lexus. I think Trotman at this point was getting a bit held up by the Mustang ahead. And then yeah, just a beautiful move around the outside by Starclough there. Really using all the speed as he's trying to run away from Travaggioli, who's just behind.
I think it's very much a race of what might have been for Adam Sharp. We've focused on that a little bit, haven't we? It's very much a race of what might have been. Obviously, he came back out into the pit, back out of the pits in third position, and then obviously the stop-go penalty, regardless of whether he served it or not, he would have been right towards the back there. So potential for the year, for the season, sorry, for Adam Sharp. But yeah, he'll be kicking himself, won't he, for that particular misdemeanor.
As was Heyman, Cole pits everything. Heyman's out of the pits, not too close to that one. But yeah, very crucial some of these moves made out of the pits, especially later on in the race where cars have got the fresher tyres, they get them warmed up and they'll be off and away. But if you can defend those cars on cold tyres, then ruin them stuck behind you, you might well be able to hold on to that position. And thank you. That is our highlights. And by the looks of it, we're not going to get any interviews off the first race. Potentially everybody's deep in their incidents out of those that we saw. So yeah, just a little revision of obviously what goes on in FRL. Do make sure you get involved. If you do want to get involved in everything, the action that you've seen tonight, or some of the stuff we mentioned in regards to Formula 1, such of course Evo, iRacing, Gran Turismo, Formula 1, do reach out in the comments and an admin will get back to you and give you a Discord or SimGrid link, which is necessary to get involved in the action. Like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss any of the upcoming streams. If you are part of the community already, do consider joining the Patreon for those extra perks I mentioned earlier, like your special race number, early access to events, and your own Patreon server to practice in. And obviously do take a look at our sponsor Simnet, who offers higher quality sim racing equipment for your leisure. But it's been very much, and I hope you've all enjoyed your baptism of fire, the new partnership between myself and Jack this evening. Hopefully it's all gone smoothly in the eyes of the viewer. I feel it's gone quite well. And yeah, we'll see you all next week, same time, 8 o'clock stream for your Super Sprint Sunday. Have a good night, guys.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.